You were never meant to know this. Not because it was too complex to understand, but because once you see it, once you truly see it, you can never go back to living blindly again. Centuries ago, one man looked deep into the heart of human nature and saw something the world didn't want to admit. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. To most people, he was a manipulator, a cynic, a master of deception. But the truth is far more dangerous. He was a realist who saw the world as it truly is, not as we pretend it to be. You live in a world shaped by illusions, morality used as a mask, kindness turned into weakness, and power disguised as virtue. They taught you to obey, to be liked, to be good. But Machiavelli warned, goodness without power is vulnerability. He believed that if you wish to survive, to rise, to lead, you must first learn the rules of those who already control the game. And that is what they never wanted you to know. Because the moment you understand how power works, you stop being controlled by it. You stop being the pawn and start becoming the player. This is the Machiavellian truth. The truth buried under centuries of fear, morality, and manipulation. Today you will see the world through Machiavelli's eyes. You will understand how power truly operates, and why the truth you're about to hear was meant to stay hidden. Part 1. The nature of power. Power is not evil. It's neutral, like fire. It can build or it can destroy. What makes it dangerous is how it's used and who understands it. You've been told to fear power, to stay humble, to avoid conflict, to let others take the lead. But that's how society keeps you weak. Because the moment you refuse power, someone else will take it and use it over you. Machiavelli understood this better than anyone. He watched rulers fall, empires crumble, men destroyed, not because they lacked goodness, but because they lacked understanding. He wrote, "It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both." He didn't mean cruelty. He meant respect. Fear in his world was not terror. It was recognition of strength. You see, in every relationship, every negotiation, every system, there's a balance of power. One commands, the other obeys. One sets the tone, the other adjusts. You do it every day at work, in friendships, in love, often without realizing it. But those who understand power, they play the game consciously. They don't seek approval, they seek position. They don't ask, is this right? They ask, does this work? And that's what frightens people. Because power exposes the truth of human nature. It shows that beneath our morals, our rules, our polite words, we all crave control. Some for dominance, others for security. But the game remains the same. Who holds power decides reality. You were taught to play fair. Machiavelli teaches you to play smart. He reminds you that fairness means nothing if you lose, that mercy without strength becomes a trap, and that sometimes the path to peace requires understanding war. The world does not reward innocence, it rewards intelligence. And in the silence of history, Machiavelli whispers, stop fearing power. Learn it, master it, or be ruled by it. Part 2. The masks of morality. You've been told that morality is sacred, that doing the right thing is the ultimate virtue. But Machiavelli saw what most refused to see, that morality is often just a mask worn by those in power. Leaders talk about virtue, justice, equality, but behind closed doors, they make decisions based on survival, strategy, and influence. They project kindness while calculating gain. They show compassion while negotiating control. It's not hypocrisy, it's reality. You may not like it, but every system you live in runs on hidden motives. Companies sell ideals, not products. Politicians sell hope, not truth. Even relationships are often built on need, not love. And the sooner you see through these illusions, the more power you gain. Machiavelli warned that a ruler who tries to be good in all things will inevitably fail among those who are not good. He wasn't encouraging evil, he was encouraging awareness. He wanted you to stop pretending the world is fair and start preparing for the world as it truly is. Because the greatest danger isn't in being deceived by others, it's in deceiving yourself. Once you start seeing through masks, you stop being controlled by them. You stop believing in false promises and start reading intentions. You stop seeking validation and start seeking understanding. Machiavelli's lesson is not to abandon morality, it's to use it strategically. Be good when goodness serves your purpose. Be silent when words would weaken your position. Be ruthless only when mercy would destroy you. Balance your light and your shadow. and learn when to reveal which, because true wisdom lies not in choosing sides, but in knowing how and when to play both. That's the secret power of the Machiavellian mind. Not manipulation, but awareness. Not cruelty, but clarity. The ability to see every move for what it is and every mask for what it hides. Part 3. The illusion of control. You believe you're in control of your choices, your emotions, your path. But look closer, and you'll see how much of your life is shaped by invisible strings. The world feeds you ideas what success looks like, what love should feel like, what happiness means. And without realizing it, you start chasing illusions designed by others. You work for validation. You buy approval. You trade your authenticity for belonging. Machiavelli saw this pattern long before the modern world. He wrote that people are easily deceived, not because they are foolish, but because they want to be deceived. They prefer comfort over clarity. They'd rather live a beautiful lie than face an ugly truth. You see it everywhere. People preaching independence while living for attention, speaking of truth while avoiding confrontation, claiming to be strong while hiding from power. But Machiavelli knew that real control doesn't come from pretending, it comes from awareness. When you understand what influences you, you take your power back. When you stop reacting emotionally and start observing strategically, you move from being a pawn in the system to becoming its designer. Control begins with seeing yourself as you truly are, not as the world told you to be. Your fears, your desires, your weaknesses, they're not your enemies. They're your map. They show you where others can control you, because the person who knows your weakness controls you, and the person who hides his own controls the game. The Machiavellian truth is this: you can't control everything, but you can control your reactions. You can't change the world overnight, but you can change how you play in it. Stop trying to control others. Master yourself. That's where true power begins, within. Part 4. The strength of perception. Machiavelli believed perception was stronger than truth itself. Because people rarely see what is, they see what they want to believe. In every kingdom, every company, every circle of influence, the one who shapes perception controls reality. You don't have to be the strongest. You just have to appear unshakable. You don't have to know everything. You just have to make others believe you do. This is not deception. It's strategy. A king who looks uncertain invites rebellion. A leader who looks divided invites attack. And a person who doubts themselves invites disrespect. Machiavelli warned, men judge generally more by the eye than by the hand. For everyone can see, but few can feel. People see what you show them. So if you show fear, they sense weakness. If you show composure, they sense strength. In your life, this truth defines how others treat you. Your tone, your silence, your posture, they all send signals. Every time you hesitate, the world takes a piece of your confidence. Every time you stand firm, the world adjusts around you. That's why those who appear powerful often don't need to prove it. Their presence speaks louder than their words. They understand that image is a weapon, one sharper than any sword. But here's the deeper lesson Machiavelli left between the lines. Perception is not about faking, it's about framing. It's about owning your story before someone else writes it for you. You don't have to be ruthless to be respected. You just have to be certain of who you are, certain of what you stand for, certain of what you will and will not tolerate. Because when your energy speaks clarity, you no longer have to beg for recognition. It finds you naturally. That's how rulers command loyalty, how leaders inspire obedience, and how individuals earn silent authority. It's not magic. It's psychology. The art of mastering perception before it masters you. Part 5. The price of power. Power always comes with a cost, and the question isn't whether you'll pay it, but whether you're strong enough to accept it. Machiavelli understood that greatness demands sacrifice. Every decision has a shadow. Every rise leaves someone behind. And every act of strength creates whispers of envy and fear. If you want power, you must accept solitude. Because true power isolates. Not because you're hated, but because you're no longer understood. When you stop living by others' rules, you stop being predictable, and the world fears what it cannot predict. Machiavelli warned that a leader must learn to act against mercy, against faith, against humanity when survival demands it. Not to become cruel, but to stay alive in a cruel world. You will be judged for your strength. You will be called arrogant for your confidence, ruthless for your decisiveness, and cold for your clarity. But remember, those words often come from the powerless, not the wise. They want you to feel guilty for outgrowing their limits. They want you to doubt yourself so they can stay comfortable in their mediocrity. But power isn't about domination, it's about direction. It's about having the courage to lead when others are afraid to move. Machiavelli knew this truth. The greatest leaders don't seek approval, they seek results. They understand that being loved is pleasant, but being respected is essential. So if you choose the path of power, be ready to lose comfort. Be ready to face misunderstanding. Be ready to stand alone when it matters most. Because the moment you step into your strength, you'll see who truly stands with you and who only stayed because you were weak. That's the price of awareness. That's the cost of evolution. And that's why most people never seek power at all. But you're different because you're not afraid of the truth anymore. You've begun to see the world not as it should be, but as it is. And that clarity, that courage, that awakening is the first step toward becoming untouchable. Part 6. The Game of Silence. Machiavelli believed that silence was not weakness, it was strategy. In a world addicted to noise, the silent man becomes a mystery, and mystery is power. You speak and you reveal. You explain and you expose. But when you remain silent, you force others to wonder, to question, to imagine. And imagination is often more powerful than truth. You see, people trust what they hear less than what they think. When you say little, others fill the silence with their own assumptions. And in that space of uncertainty, you control their perception. Machiavelli knew that speech was a weapon that must be used with precision. A careless word can destroy an empire. A well-timed silence can build one. He warned that revealing too much weakens influence. Those who talk constantly about their plans give away their strength before they act. But those who observe quietly, who measure their timing, and strike when others least expect, they command the outcome without resistance. In your own life, silence becomes your greatest shield. Not every battle needs a response. Not every insult deserves your energy, and not every truth must be spoken aloud. Sometimes silence is not surrender, it's control. It gives you space to think while others rush. It lets you choose the moment instead of reacting to it. It turns chaos into clarity. Remember this: the louder they speak, the more they reveal. The quieter you remain, the more you learn. Machiavelli taught that a wise leader listens more than he speaks, acts more than he promises, and wins more than he boasts. So speak less, observe more. Let your results make the noise, because true power doesn't shout, it whispers. Part 7. The Mastery of the Self. Machiavelli understood that before you rule others, you must first rule yourself. All the strategies, all the wisdom, mean nothing if you are a prisoner of your own mind. Look around. People crave control over everything: money, status, relationships, outcomes. But few ever learn to control their thoughts, their impulses, their fears. And that is why most will never know freedom. You can't command the world. If you can't command your emotions, you can't lead others. If you're still led by your insecurities, Machiavelli's greatest lesson isn't about manipulation, it's about mastery. The mastery of your reactions, your desires, and your direction. When anger controls you, you become predictable. When fear controls you, you become frozen. When ego controls you, you become blind. But when you control them, you become unstoppable. Because in truth, power is not about domination, it's about discipline. The man who controls himself needs no control over others. He influences through presence, not pressure. Through stability, not submission. Machiavelli's philosophy was not meant for tyrants, it was meant for thinkers. For those who refuse to live as pawns of emotion. For those who seek the kind of peace that comes only from understanding chaos. He knew that leaders are not born, they're built. Forged through disappointment, strengthened by rejection and sharpened by failure. And only those who keep their inner world steady can navigate the storm of the outer one. So when the world provokes you, stay calm. When others doubt you, stay consistent. And when your emotions scream, stay still, because in that stillness you own yourself. That is the highest form of power. Not control over others, but command over the chaos within. Ending. The forbidden knowledge. Now you understand why this truth was never meant to be known. Because a mind that sees clearly cannot be controlled. A person who understands power cannot be manipulated. And a soul that learns to master itself becomes a threat to every illusion. Machiavelli didn't create corruption. He exposed it. He didn't glorify manipulation. He warned against being blind to it. His message wasn't for rulers alone. It was for anyone strong enough to open their eyes. You were never meant to know this because knowledge like this changes you. It strips away comfort. It forces you to question everything. Every motive, every system, every person you once trusted. But once you see the truth, you can't unsee it. And that's the beginning of freedom. You'll start noticing the games people play. You'll see how power hides behind kindness, how manipulation hides behind morality, how weakness hides behind virtue. And when you do, you'll stop reacting. You'll stop chasing approval. You'll stop living by the rules of the powerless. Instead, you'll think, act, and move with awareness. You'll carry silence like a sword, and you'll walk with a presence that can't be ignored. That's the Machiavellian truth. Not darkness, not cruelty, but clarity. A way of seeing the world as it is, and still finding the strength to rise above it. So remember this lesson. You were never meant to know it, but now you do. Use it wisely, move with intention, and become the kind of force the world can't easily define or destroy. Because once you awaken, there's no turning back. And that's exactly what they feared most.